Hello and welcome to Devil's Advocate. How good a case does the National Conference have for the partial lifting of the Armed Forces Special Powers Act in Kashmir? That's the key issue I should explore today with the party president, Cabinet Minister Farooq Abdullah. Dr. Abdullah, let's start a little differently. Let's begin with a comment you made earlier this week in Rajouri. You said, there are some people among us who want to topple the Omar Abdullah government. There are some people who are sitting with us, they are digging our graves. Who are these people?
I think I've said it, and I don't think I have to repeat it. There are people in political parties, there are enemies always there, who will continue to do so. There is nothing new about it.
You're referring, aren't you, to Saifuddin Soz and other
I'm
members
not referring
of the
to
Congress
anybody.
party?
It's not my job to refer to anybody, and my job is to tell the crowd what is happening, and it's for them to know. And they know what they have to know.
Do you really believe this to be the case, or was this hot blood and anger that was speaking of?
No, I never have anger. There's no question of anger. I think there was a period when they were trying to do things, but things have stabilized.
So this is not the case today, but it was the case a little earlier on?
Yes.
And you're absolutely sure that they were trying to topple the government?
Whether they were trying to topple the government, whether they were trying to do other things, they just didn't want things to work forward.
People say that this outspoken comment reflects your frustration and your son, the Chief Minister's frustration, because now it's almost crystal clear that even a partial lifting of the AFSPA is not going to happen, and that is embarrassing for you.
I don't think when you say it's not going to happen, I think it's going to happen. The question is that the security forces have their own point of view, particularly with the Chinese in the POK region and the militancy still being propagated by the other side. This seems to be one of their worries, and I think genuinely so, we have to take all these things into consideration.
I'll come in a moment's time to how you respond to the genuine concerns of the armed forces, because that in a sense is the biggest problem you face. But let me put this to you first. When he last recently visited Delhi, Omar Abdullah was told by the central government that he should cool it, that he should keep quiet, and that's why he's gone silent. The central government no longer supports the demand to lift AFSPA.
You see, I have no idea of the conversation between the central government and him.
You're part of the central
It
government.
doesn't matter, but I have no idea. I'm not part of the central discussion team that takes place with him. That is completely
So
secret.
what the Cabinet
I have
Committee
no
on
idea, and
Security...
nor do I ask him.
But is this hidden from you?
Pardon
Is
me?
this hidden from you?
It's not a question of hidden from me. It's a question of what the Chief Minister and they discuss. It is for them and the Chief Minister.
But you're the president of the party. In addition to being the father of the Chief Minister, you're saying you're ignorant?
Father is a different matter, and the Chief Minister is a different.
You're president of the party.
Party president is a different matter. Running a government is a different matter. Please remember this. The government has its own job to do. The party has its own.
Are you truly suggesting, because that's what it sounds like, that even though you're president of the National Conference and a cabinet minister, but on the critical issue of AFSPA, you've been sidelined, you're not in the loop?
No. There is no question of sideline. I have not myself been interested in it. I do not want to be in the middle of a thing. It is for the Chief Minister to decide. He has all the inputs about it. It is for him and the government to decide what is right. Farooq Abdullah, as President of National Conference, does not come into it.
All right, you said to me that AFSPA will be partially lifted in due course. When will it be lifted? After all,
I think the question is, we have to see how things progress. We've had a very good summer. It has been very good visitor-wise. It has been good economic-wise for the state. I think all these things have to be seen, and I'm sure both Government of India and the state government and the armed forces are looking how to go around it and do the things that the Chief Minister feels should be done.
the problem with this attitude of sanguineness that you're projecting at the moment is that it doesn't fully hide the fact that on this issue of the lifting of AFSPA, not just the Chief Minister, but your party, the National Conference, is losing credibility. After all, let me finish. Omar Abdullah virtually raised this issue when he took over, and that's 3 years ago. Yet even today, nothing has happened. Your credibility is at stake because you talk about it so much.
I don't think our credibility is at stake. Please do not think it's our credibility is at stake. Not at all. These are not things that you decide at the spur of the moment. Everything has to take time. After all, AFSPA was introduced in 1990. By then, the government and the governor. As far as my period was concerned, I was the one who started the unified command, because I thought it was necessary to have a unified command so that all intelligence sources come together and the chief minister heads it. Now the question is, situation has got better. What is the actual situation is known only to the chief minister, because he's got all the inputs.
But can I put to you what you said a moment ago? You said these things take time.
Yes, they do
right?
take time.
In which
That's
case,
why it took 3 years.
has Omar Abdullah mishandled this whole issue? People often say that if these things take time, rather than publicly express his desire to partially lift AFSPA, he should have kept his counsel to himself, ensured there was consensus, brought everyone on board, and then gone public. By going public, when in fact he doesn't have the support of the Congress party, the Defence Ministry and the army, he's put himself on an edge and a precipice, and he looks lonely, and now he looks as if he's losing credibility.
No, I don't think so. I think you're very wrong. I think people, all these things that you read in the newspapers and this thing, there's no such thing. The point is, he has said it, and he has said it openly. He has not hidden it. He has said it exactly as he said it.
But was it wise to say it openly, to find Saifuddin Soz countering him and saying that he hasn't discussed it with the state Congress party? He claims, Saifuddin Soz claims, he hasn't discussed it with the cabinet.
I don't know what Saifuddin Soz says. I have no contact with
Saifuddin
Soz. I do not know about Saifuddin Soz's talk about it. I have nothing to do with that. As far as I am concerned, Omar Abdullah has the inputs, and if he thinks his inputs are right, then it is his call what he has to do.
But does he have the inputs? That, in a sense, is what I'm questioning.
He must have inputs, otherwise why would he have done it?
No, in which case, why would the army and the defence minister make it clear repeatedly and publicly that they are not in favour of even a partial lifting? Clearly, either Omar didn't know what their views were, or he jumped the gun.
No, don't worry. EFSA will go.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Let me put this to you.
It will go.
People look at the comments that Omar Abdullah as chief minister has made and say that he's actually either contradicting himself or he's not speaking the truth. For instance, on the 10th of November, he said, and I'm going to quote you what his exact words were, he said, "There is no way that no can be an acceptable answer." In fact, that is exactly what the army was saying. Then on the 22nd of November, he said, no one has opposed the lifting. Once again, the army clearly had. So he's contradicting himself, or he doesn't know what he's saying.
That you should ask him. I'm Farooq Abdullah, and I'm not Omar Abdullah. As far as I'm concerned, ASFA will go. As situation gets better, it'll be lifted.
Why aren't you defending your son?
From the district, it'll be lifted.
Why aren't you defending your son and your chief minister? I've just said he's contradicted
Why should
himself.
what is the problem of
I've said that
defending
he's
him?
actually spoken
He is
wrongly.
going to remove ASFA. That is all. What are you worried about? It'll go.
Well, okay, you say it'll go. You say he'll remove ASPA, and he himself has gone on record to say that he has the power to authorize the lifting. But the Attorney General has told the central government that in fact the last word is the governor's word. So is Omar Abdullah overestimating his power as chief minister?
Not at all. It is the people of the state who don't want this draconian law.
But with whom lies the power to
Now
lift it?
conditions are better. The conditions were not at that time when I was in power. Conditions are definitely better. We hope that conditions will continue to improve. This will go.
But you've sidestepped the issue I raised. The issue I raised is this: Omar Abdullah claims he has the power to lift it. The Attorney General says that power lies with the governor. Is Omar
I am
Abdullah
not bothered who has
overestimating?
the right and who does not have the right.
In which case, Omar may recommend it, the governor
Doesn't
will
matter.
refuse.
You ask Umar. Why are you asking me?
Because you're the president
I
of
am
the party.
not Umar.
But you're the president of the party.
That is all right. As far as the president of the party is concerned, my job is to see that this thing is lifted. As the chief minister says that the conditions are better in those areas, it should be lifted.
We're talking about whether Omar Abdullah handled this adequately and well, or whether he's mishandled it.
You should ask him.
There's a third problem
should ask
that's emerged in the newspapers in the last 48 hours. It appears. Let me finish.
Newspapers write lots of things.
Let me finish, then you criticize. Let me finish, then you criticize. It emerges that whilst he was pushing for the partial lifting of the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, he overlooked the fact that the Criminal Procedure Code in JK does not provide the same security to the armed forces that the Criminal Procedure Code in the rest of the country does. Now, he's hastily trying to amend the JK code, but shouldn't he have done his homework and thought of this earlier?
Army is not our master. Just remember that. People of Jammu and Kashmir are masters of the state.
So you don't mind if the army is left unprotected?
Army is not the master. Army is only to protect. That's all.
Then why is he suddenly now amending the code?
Please let me finish. Army is there to protect. They will continue to protect the interests of the nation. They have to guard the border so that the infiltration doesn't take place. It is their job. Rest, the local police, the CRPF are ready to handle.
In which case, why is Omar Abdullah now belatedly rushing to amend the Jammu and Kashmir Criminal Procedure Code to give the protection?
He must have seen that this probably is not there and they need the protection, so he's going to give them.
My point entirely, shouldn't he have done this
so
before
what is the
he
problem
moved,
about it?
But shouldn't he have done this before he moved to lift AFSPA? I'm saying that this is
He's not a lawyer. After all, this was not suggested then. It may have been suggested now that this is a possible way. So it doesn't matter.
But chief ministers who want to take dramatic
I
radical
have
action
been chief
should
minister
be
also of the state. So don't tell me that what chief minister cannot do. Chief minister is the master of the state.
So you're saying there has been no fault or inadequacy in the way Omar Abdullah has handled
Not
the
at all.
AFSPA?
Not at all.
None.
None.
All right.
None whatsoever. If he decides it has to go, it must go.
And what if the central government and the army don't agree?
Doesn't matter.
You mean
It is the wishes of the people that matter. And if the people feel that the things are better, then let us give them that. They said the same thing when 40 bunkers were removed. They said when the bunkers were removed, they said, oh, if the bunkers are there, we will not be able to, if the bunkers go, there will be no safety. Bunkers were removed. People are able to breathe safely.
So on this,
people are able to walk safely.
So on this issue, you're prepared to defy the army and the defense ministry?
There is no question of defy. Why are you talking of defy? The question is, there is a feeling in the people's mind that time has come. It's not only in Jammu and Kashmir. There are a number of people in this rest of the nation also who feel that this draconian law must go.
All right. Let's take a break at that point, Dr. Abdullah. When I come back, I want to put to you the specific concerns of the army and ask you as President of the National Conference how you respond to them and how much weight you give them. All of that in a moment's time. See you after this. Welcome back to Devil's Advocate and an interview with the President of the National Conference, Cabinet Minister Farooq Abdullah. Dr. Abdullah, let's come to the single biggest obstacle in the way of even a partial lifting of the Armed Forces Special Powers Act in Kashmir, the opposition of the Army and the Defense Ministry. Lieutenant General Parnaik, the GOC-in-Chief Northern Command, says that the present peace in Jammu and Kashmir is fragile. The situation could easily turn ugly. He says in these circumstances, to even partially lift AFSPA would be to give an unwarranted advantage to militants and terrorists, which they would exploit. How do you answer that?
Army has its view, and that view cannot, is not my view. As far as I am concerned, I feel that once it's lifted, it's not something that cannot be brought back if the situation turns like that. It's not something. The Chief Minister has already cleared that. Therefore, Army's that feeling that it will give more powers to the militants to act, I don't think I agree with this thing, because it's going to only in Srinagar, Badgam, Samba and Jammu. So how does it affect in such small districts?
Let me explain to you that. Let me explain to you. The reason why the lifting of AFSPA would give an advantage to militants and terrorists is because in the areas where it's lifted, the army will no longer operate in terms of military judgment, but in terms of its need to defend itself in court. Clearly, its efficiency will be undermined.
I don't think so. I have ruled that state. Whenever we needed army, the district magistrate has the right to call the army. Has it ever, before AFSA was there, we were not able to call the army?
Exactly this happened in Manipur. In the very area.
Why don't we call them?
But let me explain to you. In the very areas of Manipur where AFSA was lifted, to begin with, insurgents found sanctuary. Thereafter, in some of them, they even found control. Do you want to take a risk of that happening in J&K?
I don't think so. It'll happen in J&K.
But how can you be sure?
I think we've had
No, but how
quite
can
a
you
lot.
be sure?
I have seen it this year. Last year you saw the tragedies. We had AFSA then also. You saw the tragedy we faced last year. People have realized the damage they have done to their economy, to themselves, and how many children we lost. I don't think they are ready to do this thing again.
You know, when you say, I don't think so, you're putting your judgment of the security situation against that of the army. More importantly, you're turning a blind eye to the experience of Manipur. Is it wise to take that risk?
There's a lot of
when the
difference
army
between
is
Manipur and
against it?
Jammu and Kashmir. Please, there's a lot of difference between Manipur.
But do you think you really know more as a civilian politician than military officers who actually have to handle the situation?
What do they handle?
The insurgency,
What do they handle?
the terrorism
Where?
in your state,
In my state? And how the hell do these terrorists come?
from Pakistan.
Then how are they coming if they are able to handle?
230.
Tell me, how are they able to handle?
So you're saying the army is failing to handle it?
Yes. They must have failed. Otherwise, how do they enter? How have they entered?
Every successful infiltration in your eyes is the failure of the army. That's what you're saying.
It's not the question, it's a failure of the entire system. The intelligence failure. We have intelligence, we have external intelligence, we have internal intelligence. There must be a failure somewhere.
Let me, for
If they are coming in.
let me, for purely argument's sake, accept the point you're making, although others would strongly disagree. And let me put this to you. If the system is failing, if the army is failing to check infiltration, is that a reason for tightening AFSPA and extending it?
It is
or
not the
removing
question of heightening
Surely
AFSPA.
you've got your own
I
logic.
am not interested in AFSA. Let me be very frank about it. I think time has come when people should be trusted.
You mean the army doesn't trust the Kashmiris if it disagrees?
I don't know
with
whether you trust the Kashmiris or not. That you should ask army. Time has come when people should be given space to breathe.
This is
When they should feel that there is nothing there that is beyond the law.
on the issue of ASPA, this sounds as if it's becoming a people of Kashmir versus Indian army issue.
No, it's not the question of, this is what you are putting. It's not Farooq Abdullah saying Indian army versus people of Kashmir.
Let me put this to you. The army says that neither is ASFA the cause of the problem in Kashmir, nor will its lifting be the solution. They say that Omar Abdullah and perhaps Farooq Abdullah have made it a convenient target because they know that they can't tackle the real causes. In other words, you're grasping at straws because you can't hit the real target.
Good luck to the army.
That's a dismissive thing to say, isn't it?
I will not say anything more than this.
One last question. There are said to be 42 terrorist training camps in Pakistan, some 2,500 terrorists in all. 750 are supposed to be on launching pads waiting to cross over. This year alone, 230 militants attempted in 35 ways to try and infiltrate. ASFA might encourage them further. It might make the problem worse. Do you want to take that risk?
ASPA is not going to be removed from those areas. It is not going to be removed from areas where they are coming in.
But by giving
why
them...
are you worried about that?
But if it gives them sanctuary in Srinagar and Budgam, it would encourage them to come and find shelter there.
You think the CRPF and the police are useless? That they can't deal with it? That they are unable to deal with it?
So you dismiss all the army's concerns?
It's not a question of army concern I dismiss. It's a question of concern of all of us. Whether they are army or they are civilians.
Okay.
There are certain things we have to do for the betterment of the people. And for the feeling of the people that yes, there is better situation. And that we are getting better.
And AFSPA has to be lifted because the Kashmiri people want. And that is what you're standing for.
It is the people of the state that want that AFSA should go. As things get better, as things improve, they will go.
All right,
so there is no problem about it. Why are you worried about when it goes and this goes or that goes?
All right, Dr. Abdullah, on that note, when you're sanguine, some would say possibly complacent, a pleasure talking to you.